have heard of terms used to describe a lot of events which seemed out of the ordinary. People, crops and animals who withered away without any real known cause, as they would say. Even an overly load of misfortunes was sufficiently considered a bad omen, if not caused by the spirits, malevolently caused by a masked stranger who lives amongst us. And worse, one who passes through these misfortunes may be recognized as a harbinger. For all names used to describe these circumstances and events readily recognized the word witch, witchcraft, sorcery. The irony is that it is rarely used in the face of good omens. Centuries before echoed the word, and centuries to come still speak of it. Interestingly, these names are abundantly found in the pagan paths, which in turn has been sculpted to become an image of endless tunnel of darkness and eternal service to the devil. Earlier superstitious vision of a witch's appearance you could agreeably depict was that of a goblin's appearance, save for the height of the witch and her long wooden rod, made with brushes bundle knotted together to form a broomstick used for riding in the air at night, more like Santa Claus. The term, however, tends to have at one time different implication and meaning from millennia past. More refined descriptions attribute a witch as one who practices the use of herbs in order to effect a change, especially healing, or as one who uses supernatural means, magic to influence events and predict events. Modern qualifications describes a witch, wizardess or a wizard as one who simply employs a varied range of techniques to well back up discretion. Root word of a witch means to bend or shape. Like witches also have the ability to effect events with the use of magic to dominate the natural forces around. Spans a cross-section of 21st century organizations that provides a haven for magical practices and are such, home of many, including scholars, mystics and of course, sorcerers, witches and warlocks. Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Order and the Eastern Orders are one of such. Both witches and sorcerers practice the art of witchcraft, spewing out tricky means to influence an energy essence from one form to another. Hence witchcraft is popularly known as the craft of the wise. At the root origin. Your idea of a witch or a sorcerer is that witch is gotten from the movies, gives the typical description of an old goblin woman with a flying broomstick or an aeroplane, a mischievous persona who likes to live in isolated places to prey and harvest the body parts of wandering children and adults for sinister activities. You are definitely not far from the truth. The time, twisted version have been cooked up and the meaning have since remained the same. The art of sorcery have been known to employ deeper levels of magic, including black magic and necromancy, which involved direct communication with demons. Communications which slowly left a dent on the practitioner's bargains are constantly made in services with these demonic powers, like the heartbroken mothers whose children have been kidnapped by a Miana, and having the tendency to become a Miana themselves due to grief. Sorcerers also could slip into self-state and ultimately alternate organic demon themselves when their guards are let down. Witches, no better viewed in the light despite being considered not less nuisance than sorcerers, as both parties practices witchcrafts, since these involve crafts used to invoke, commune with benevolent and malevolent spirits alike, the latter having the upper hand, irrevocably rooted in the conscience of the common people with no knowledge of these terms. The art of witchcraft has taken a darker turn. Historical trials and the Great Purge of the Dark Ages held, which further increased these assertions, and will forever leave a scar in the hearts of victims and families. While the status description of witchery still remains in a turn-on and turn-off phase, sorcery on the other hand has continued to stay in the dark with occasional references in modern movies, books and in some versions of the Witches' Dictionary. The African conception of witchcraft acknowledges the existence of a witch who plays the role of a traditional doctor in terms of extraordinary events and whose job is to see that such harm done or to befall a territory is averted. Difference in this scenario is that the witch doctor or shaman is generally approved by the public and the oracle or a higher power does the appointing, and most times, witch doctor spends their time in solitude and not in covens like their Western counterparts. They could also play the role of hunters to weed out fellow bad witches or practitioners of the dark arts. They are also known to have played the darker role of being abusers of their role as protectors and guardians, with acquired powers solely to maim, cripple and later waste, in detrimental conditions worse than death of their victims in exchange for possessions, titles, money and ultimately to stay unchallenged. Their role was to do the biddings of humans who sought such desires and lots more. Initiations into the occult world for Africans was automated the moment contacts were made with such entities and agents, in a bid to expand and dominate with their practices. Will there ever be a reconciliation on the view of the pagan universe by non-pagans and pagans themselves? Pagan movements and efforts have been made to enlighten people and to mark certain distinguished traits between the pagan from the popular, fictitious version of the audience. There's strong evidence that the fear still lingers. Tales of the skinwalkers and the Kitsune Mochi are, amongst bad enough, killing stories that draws hasty conclusions of the pagan culture. Festivals, Halloweens and solstice days held do not help either. Display, exhibition and parade by zealots and followers gives the impression of a barbaric, primitive kind that completely distorts the actual symbolism of such artifacts and sacred objects. The horned gods, for example, to an average human, readily reminds them of not the deer, gazette or elk, that are considered harmless, wish, that of the aggressive willow or the rhino kinds. Tour on the non-pagan traditions, however, is a site for the memories of a subdued rhino by the only the brave ones is painted to stick for a long time. Christian crusades regularly depict such scenarios. Cross, chalice, Bible, the Eucharist speaks miles of a blissful encounter than their actual names imply. Now, such dark impression is gradually washed away and a new refined memory imprinted on the initiates and tourists interested in the pagan culture and witchcraft. The horned gods and fiery spirits which paints an image of the aggressive buffalo can also become an aggressive protectors and helper. Cult objects and symbols have over the years undergone stylish transformation to be better accepted by the people. It still seems that only the surface has just been scratched to barely reveal a lot of secrets to the world. Like witches who uses witchcraft to oppress the masses and victims, there are leaders of the non-pagan domain who oppress the masses too. Hell. Scenario is always different and bias will always be there.